Hello, everybody. Nick DeTiro, Professor of Information Technology and Computer Science, Lakeland Community College. You've probably heard it many times. Why is email still the most common vector or cybercrime or vector for attack that is still out there? Why? Why do companies consistently train users to be careful or be suspicious of emails, yet it's still the number one attack vector? It's still the number one most common crime associated with cybersecurity. Now, a lot of people have this assumption that, you know what, if I something happens with my email, I'm compromising myself. They get my credit cards. No, you got to look at a bigger picture. Now, before we look at a bigger picture and not really why, but how, email becomes this attack vector, let's take a look at some statistics. Now, before we look at some statistics, if you're to go up the internet and do any kind of search on statistics on emails and phishing, you're going to get a wide variety. I've just picked a few. They may not be perfect, but they really show the scope of the email. So let's go up to my machine and let's take a look. All right, here are some statistics from 2023. You're looking at worldwide 350 billion emails. I'm just rounding up here. 350 billion emails every day. So just massive amounts of emails going out there. 61.9% or 60% are being opened up on our mobile devices. Just a whole bunch of things in this. It just means there's a lot of emails going out there. So that's one. Very innocuous, very common, ubiquitous. Let's talk about phishing. I think we all know what phishing is. That's when they're kind of attacking you through that email. It's still the most number one cyber crime out there. 3.4 billion spam emails sent every day. So billions of these spam emails, these phishing attacks. They go into the other ones. The statistics may be a little bit old. And maybe, we have blockers and a whole bunch of things associated with spam, but it's still the number one attack vector. All right. And that's based upon how email works. Now, I'm going to go up to a little graphic here. It's a nice little graphic. And this is what people assume, that when they send an email and the recipient receives that email. Well, remember, it has to go across the internet. It has to get from your organization or your computer to somebody else's computer. And it's a nice little rudimentary graphic here. The sender sends to their through their company network to their email server. You will notice, and this will make more sense in the next graphic, you will notice that we have the company network and we have the sender's email. It goes across the internet. Hopefully there's spam blockers, there's virus blockers, there's things like that. Now, those are going to pick up a lot of known spams or suspicious emails. You saw that Google tends to block things. So, the providers go out there and they're trying to shut these things down, but they do leak through. And then eventually, here's this email server and eventually goes up to the recipient. So it's not just from your machine to the recipient's machine. It's getting touched, it's getting organized, it's being sent by a series of machines and a series of routers. Now, I still didn't answer the question why and how. Why do we still choose email, or the attackers still use email as the primary source of an attack? And it's this, right? There's a little graphic here. Don't worry about the specifics here, but a little graphic here. And this is pretty much how organizations are set up, where we have the internet. And here is your company's network on this side over here. And basically between the internet and you, we'll say this is you over here, we have a firewall, we have a DMZ, what we call a DMZ, we have another firewall. Those are pretty significant. Those are big things. So an attacker, if they don't use email as their vector, they're going through almost insurmountable methods to get to this stuff back here. It's this stuff back here that they're going after. If they're trying to crash the wall, pound the wall, it doesn't work. These firewalls are pretty significant. Now, Could it happen? Absolutely. Can they find vulnerabilities in these firewalls? Absolutely. But you are basically hitting up against some pretty secure situations here. All right. Again, could it happen that they go through the firewall? Could they happen that they find a vulnerability on the firewall? Absolutely. But you'll notice down here in this DMZ area, you start getting into companies' web servers, email servers, and DNS servers, right? So this is behind this first layer of the firewall. Even the web server is behind this first firewall. The email server behind this first firewall. The DNS server, we're not going to worry about DNS at this point. So it's behind this. So the attackers know that they can legitimately communicate with these devices. They're surfing your company's webpage. They're sending an email. That is all going through appropriately, going through the routers and the firewalls and things like that. So for us, the average person, we have to be able to go through the firewall so we can talk to web servers, so we can send emails. Remember the graphic that I had before. But here's why email is still the most common cybercrime attack vector, whatever you want to call it. If I'm sitting over here and I'm on, now they don't have any client machines over here, but if I'm sitting on a client machine over here, I need to talk to my email. So I'm going to go through all the protections and things like that, the firewalls and the routers, to grab my email. So I grab my email and I bring it back to my computer. And lo and behold, on that email is a link or malware that slipped through. And if I click on that link, it opens up some nasty stuff on my computer. Now, if the hacker is intelligent, they're not going to tell you that nasty stuff is happening to the computer. Now, they might have a ransomware for your individual computer, but let's face it, they're not going to spend days, weeks, months, years to get your credit card, right? They could, but they're going to spend days, months, years to get to your company's information. So when you or somebody clicks on a known link or clicks on malware, what typically would happen is that opens up a whole bunch of nasty things on your given computer, and that basically gives the attacker that's way over here access to your computer here. Then they start making horizontal moves and vertical moves to try to, they're going to launch from your machine and try to get to other machines. That you've given them, or we have given them, a pathway from the outside world to here. So how they delivered it was they went through the email. We opened up the email. So they went through the email. It's kind of sitting there. And we opened up the email on our machine. We connected to a link. Maybe we opened up malware that opened up some really nasty stuff on our computers. And now we have a connection going from here to here, right? They're not going to attack the walls. They may, but predominantly attacking the firewalls, attacking the DMZ takes a lot of effort, and they may never find those vulnerabilities. But if they know they can send an email is simple to send, and they know there's a good chance statistically somebody's going to open up that email, click on that malware. You've heard me say this many times. The weakest link in our cyber chain, in our cybersecurity chain, is the human being. I could put up all the firewalls, I can take all the precautions in the world, but if I open up a malware that looks legitimate, or I click on a link that looks interesting coming in from an email, then all those firewalls basically get circumvented. So, quick little video kind of explaining about why email is still the number one attack vector, because we have to use email. The emails have to come to our boxes. Yes, we're going to have filters and stuff like that. We'll hopefully block those things, but that's why we tell you don't open up unknown files. Don't click on links and things like that. So that being said, hope you learned something. That being said, let's go out and learn something.